we're going to be doing some keyword research. This keyword research is something that we're going to do on Google Keyword Planner because it gives us real Google search data. But then we're also going to go to Google itself to research competition. Now, this step of the process is extremely important. However, I feel like a lot of times this is where people kind of get hung up when it comes to searching for a niche, because I've gotten hung up in this same location too. I feel like I have an idea for a really great niche, and then I come over to Google Keyword Planner and I check out the competition for it, and there's tons of traffic and also tons of competition to go along with it. And so then I find myself at kind of a dead end with that niche. Do I go looking for something else, or do I still try to build a website around this topic? So having said that, I want to search SSD to begin with. I know this is going to have a lot of traffic, and I even know ahead of time that it's going to have an enormous amount of competition on Google. I would obviously not want to be targeting a really generic keyword phrase like SSD, or likely even one of the slightly more specified ones that maybe means the same thing: SSD hard drive, SSD disk, SSD drives, even the full writing of that solid state drive. I'm sure all of them are loaded with competition. So how would I actually go about trying to target this particular niche? I can't do it in a broad way. I have to try to find a unique way of targeting the niche that is also something that people essentially have a demand for. And there's really opportunities like this that exist in a large number of high competition niches. And a lot of times the quote unquote professional marketers will overlook these things because they don't see it as a buyer opportunity. They see it as an informational search phrase. Well, people that search for information when it comes to solving problems are often willing to then buy something to solve that problem that they've been searching about. Or else, why would they bother going out there and trying to find a solution for it? So I've done this myself and used this approach, and it works really well. You just have to give people the proper information to lead them from asking the question or wanting to solve a problem to actually wanting to buy the product. So you need to be informative and convince them that this is the product that is going to solve their problem. And you need to actually be right about that too. Don't just randomly guess at what may or may not solve it. Now, if you don't know about a niche ahead of time, you can always research that kind of information. There are forums out there where people talk about this kind of stuff all the time when they're actually buying the products. You can go to places like this, learn the information yourself, and then teach people on your own site to solve the issues that they are searching for. So when it comes to the solid state drive, since I can obviously not go after this in a broad sense, I have to try to find a more specific way of targeting it. I could look at one of these other keyword phrases that has a lot lower traffic levels and try to go after it instead. Sometimes you'll find really good ideas in the Google Keyword Planner, and other times you simply won't. However, if you know a little bit about the product itself, you can kind of adjust your search in terms of what you kind of would want to target. Using the solid state drive as an example here, the reason why I wanted to get it was to speed up my computer. I wanted to speed up certain things that I do for work on a very regular basis. Things that are typically very intensive on the resources on my computer, stuff like video editing. So right off the bat, I can already think of speed being one of the factors that brought me in to this particular type of product. It's why I purchased it, to help to try to solve a particular problem. So now I just typed in fast SSD as an example to try to get Google to refine these results for me and to show me something a little more relevant to what I have in mind for this product. While I do have a lot of the same generic keywords in here, I do have other things thrown in that were not showing up on my previous list that do relate to what I was searching for. Fast SSD only has 320 monthly searches, but fastest SSD has 4,400. So I'm going to go ahead and simply adjust my keyword brainstorming ideas here to reflect that, since I knew ahead of time that SSD wasn't going to be feasible to target. With that said now, I'm going to take these three phrases and show you how I take my initial idea for a niche and try to verify whether or not I can actually target it. I'll go ahead and switch topics here for a moment. I'm going to go to the night vision monocular. Now the night vision monocular has 4,400 monthly searches. So what I want to do is record these numbers as I proceed through my research, so I can refer back to it and be able to make a clear judgment call on what might actually be the best thing to target. So now I'm going to search for thermal imaging camera, and I see this one has 18,100. Now typically I would try to avoid niches like this that have so much traffic on them, and as a result are very, very likely to have a lot of competition in these search engines. However, I told you that I wanted to show you some of my more recent techniques for going after some of these high competition niches. And so that's exactly what I'm going to be doing here today. I'm going to be going after something that's much, much larger than what I have typically recommended to target in the past, because I'm not necessarily going to be going after these specific keyword phrases. I'm going to be going after these ideas as a niche. And so the specific keywords that I end up targeting may be different from these. It just kind of depends on what my competition really ends up looking like. So once I have some traffic levels for my keywords, I go over to Google and I'm looking to do two types of searches. I add the word all in title without spaces, then a colon, and finally my keyword in quote marks. What this is going to tell me is the number of pages that Google has indexed on the internet that contain this exact phrase in the actual title of the page. So as you look down, you would actually be able to see night vision monocular in every single one of these page titles that is showing up here. Even this one that you can't initially see, the word that's not showing up after it is definitely monocular. I record this number for each of my keywords, and then I also remove the all-in title from the beginning to where I just have my keyword phrase surrounded by quote marks. And I also record this number. So now, this last search here, with it all in quotes, this is the number of pages that Google has indexed that use this exact phrase, but anywhere in the content of the page. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the title. So what this tells me from a quick glance is this many number of pages may actually be trying to target this exact keyword phrase. And in general, I like to see this all-in title number to be as small as possible. The lower the number is, overall, the lower the competition is going to be. Once you top maybe 3,000, upwards of 5,000 all-in title results, you really kind of hit a level of competition that becomes much harder to beat. You have to have an overwhelming amount of content, sometimes thousands of words, to be able to compete with those sites when you're dealing with a large number of results, somewhat like the night vision monocular search here. The second number here, I like to again see this as low as possible, preferably though somewhere under the 50,000 number. Again, as low as you can possibly go, much, much better, but 50,000 or so and anywhere under that is usually at least feasible to accomplish without having to kill yourself with a ton of extra work or a lot of extra backlinking and things like that. So with that said, I'm going to continue on here and just finish up these three searches. For thermal imaging camera, when I put it all in quotes, I have 470,000. And then my all-in title has 33,700. Now take a look at the differences between these two keywords here, especially with the all-in title numbers and the quote numbers. There are less pages with thermal imaging camera in the title than there are night vision monocular. However, more pages actually use this phrase in the content itself compared with the other ones. So they're actually backwards, having to do with those two stats there. The reason why you have stuff like this happening is because you have marketers that are creating pages that are obviously going after a Google phrase, such as this one. So then they end up putting the keyword phrase in the title of their page. And that causes an inflation in the all-in title number. So when you see something that has more all-in title results and a lower quote number result compared with other keywords, you can usually look at this and think that there are going to be more marketers that are trying to target this particular niche. Now again, this is no guarantee. This is kind of an assumption here. just something from my years of doing this same type of thing. Now going to the next one, here we go. This one is looking really nice. 1,550 for all in title. And then for just my quotes, I have 51,000. Now I told you 2,000, maybe even 5,000 and above with your all-in title is going to indicate a lot higher competition, including everything that is obviously beyond those numbers, like these first two keywords. And then for my quote number, I'm generally looking for something 50,000 or less. I have been able to use my strategy to get on keywords that maybe have 100 or 200,000, but it requires a little extra work or placing more emphasis on that particular page on my site. But in terms of just trying to target any given keyword phrase with just one page of content on your website, that 50,000 number is, again, what I'm trying to look for here. So now, looking at this, I obviously have one niche that is standing above the rest. My 4,400 searches is the same on that keyword and also on this keyword, but my competition here is about 5% of the possible competition that I have on this keyword. So when I'm dealing with the same traffic level, obviously I would want to side for the keyword phrase with a lot less competition. Now this also kind of works out beneficially for me because I have a lot of knowledge on this topic already, because this is something that I just finished doing myself. So it's really fresh in my mind. I have one of these actual products myself that I could maybe even use for a review video. And so I think I could actually help people in this niche to help them solve their problems and also to then attract Google traffic and convert it into Amazon sales. However, I also want you to consider that when you reach this point in the process, if you hit a stone wall like this, and the idea that you really, really wanted to go after is showing a ton of competition, don't throw it out the window quite yet. There is something else that you might be able to do to actually still target a really high competition niche like one of these two that are on the top of my list. Now, to a certain extent, the solid state drive niche, if I just went for the general keyword phrase here for this niche, you can see the overwhelming number of results that is here. 14 million. And this is with the word in quote marks. So that's 14 million compared to 500,000 and 1/3 of a million. So these actually don't look so bad anymore compared to something like this. So the real question is, how could you go about targeting one of these higher competition niches? Or even something like this, where my keyword might be somewhat low competition, but overall, I know that my niche is jam-packed with content that already exists out there about it. So how would I go about trying to target this? And this actually leads me to step number 3 in this process. So as you can see, we have gone through Google Keyword Planner. We have researched the competition on Google for these initial niche ideas. And then I have also recorded my traffic and competition levels for each of these. You can do this in a notepad. If you prefer, spreadsheets work just fine too. I just happen to be a fan of using notepads because I kind of use the notepad for more than just recording numbers.